The other night I was laying in bed when it finally came to me. I've been staring at my YouTube channel that I got a whopping like 2 videos. I got some other to load as well, and I was pondering. I'm like, what do I really want to do with this? And it came to me as I was just sitting there. It was like 12:30 in the morning, and I was like, this is it. And I immediately like pulled my laptop open when I should have been sleeping because I had to get up for work in the morning, and I changed the channel name away from where I thought I was going, so I could talk about a few more different things, into the compounding effect. Now, I'm sure some of you have probably heard of the book, The Compound Effect. Concept's kind of similar in that sense, but it just started to line up because I've been studying the art of, I call it an art because I think that's what it is, because it's a discipline. It takes a lot of practice. But I've been studying the art of the compound effect over the course of probably the last year or so. The book itself is great, but that's not what geared me towards this video itself. So I was laying there and I was like, I think this is it. And then this morning I was in the sauna and I was just relaxing. I was reading the almanac of Naval Ravikant, and I came across a quote that I'm going to read because I have it highlighted in my phone. And he stated, "You said all the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest. How does one know if they're earning compound interest?" I'm going to read this excerpt real quick, and then I'll talk about where I'm going here. Compound interest is a very powerful concept. Compound interest applies to more than just compounding capital. Compounding capital is just the beginning. Compounding in business relationships is very important. Look at some of the top roles in society, like why someone is a CEO of a public company or managing billions of dollars. It's because people trust them. They are trusted because the relationships they've built and the work they've done has compounded, and they've stuck with the business and shown themselves in a visible and accountable way to be high integrity people. Compound interest also happens in your reputation. If you have a sterling reputation, you keep building it for decades upon decades, people will notice. Your reputation will literally end up being thousands or tens of thousands of times more valuable than somebody else who was very talented but is not keeping the compound interest in reputation going. This is also true when you're working with individual people. If you've worked with somebody for 5 or 10 years and you still enjoy working with them, obviously you trust them and the little foibles are gone. All the normal negotiations in business relationships can work very simply because you trust each other and you know it will work out. I'm going to avoid what he goes on here with some of the other stories about it, but it was funny, when I came up with the idea of what I wanted to do here the other day, and I was sitting down this morning reading the book in the sauna, and I'm like, see, it's just triggering. It's weird how the universe will put things in front of you and just start clicking, because in my head, it just came out of nowhere. And then I'm reading the book and there it is, the quote in the almanac that lined up perfectly with the stuff that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to give a little bit of my perspective now, just so you guys understand where I'm going with this. So compounding in life applies to practically everything that we do. Now, Naval in that quote specifically talked about different areas of life. He went on to talk about business relationships and relationships in general. And yes, they are super important. There's a common concept that if you deposit into your relationship bank, the relationship is going to grow with whoever you're trying to grow the relationship with. However, compounding applies in just about everything that we do. And it especially applies in your own life and the things that you do. So there is one other quote that I'm going to quote here, and it's in the same book. It is a little bit after him talking about compounding. Actually, no, it's a little bit before he's talking about compounding interest. And he says the most important skill for getting rich is becoming a perpetual learner. I agree with that. Naval's a smart guy. Something I take pride in is the fact that I like to read pretty consistently. I like to watch while I do indulge in entertaining videos. I like to watch a lot of educational videos about whatever it is that I'm interested in at the time, and I like to continue to learn. I honestly wish I had this mentality back when I was in school. I did all right. I probably would have did a lot better if I took the time to do some of the things that they needed me to do, but school conversation is a whole different thing. So when it comes to compounding, learning is a pretty big factor, right? So whenever you are trying to get better at some sort of skill, the more time you invest into learning that skill, the better you will become. Your skill compounds. You're effectively building on top of yourself in order to get better at what it is you are trying to do. This applies across the board, right? Which is why we're going to talk about this a lot on this channel and the different aspects of life of where this comes into play, especially when it comes into play with money and making sure that you are learning constantly to get better with your finances. Another aspect where compounding is super important: health. Doing things over and over and over again consistently leads to better health, right? We've all been there when we started going to the gym, and you're just like, you've been there once or twice and you don't notice anything different, which is the common anecdote, right? But once you've been there a few weeks, a few months, you start to notice the changes in your body, right? So it compounds. The building of the muscle, the strengthening of your heart, and every other aspect of your body just builds on top of each other, leading to a stronger version of you. That's super important. That should be what you want. But this takes time and consistency. And the more you put into it, the better the gains are going to be over time. So as you age and get older, like me, your body's going to continue to feel in a decent shape. Yes, you'll have your moments where you feel like garbage, but as long as you're doing the majority of the time, I believe very heavily in the 80-20 rule here, 80% of your time in this case should be going towards doing something that is a net positive to your health, right? And then if you look at other aspects of anything, so we'll talk diet on this same concept of the gym. If you eat healthy on a consistent basis and you're doing it over and over and over and over again, your body's also going to lose weight and you're going to be in better shape. Your skin's going to look better. You're going to feel healthier, and it builds on top of each other. In fact, it compounds, like we've already said. So the more you compound it, the more you can give yourself a little bit of a break, and you can take out a little bit and you can indulge in some of the things that you may have taken out of your way so you can get to the state that you're trying to be physically. When it comes to your relationships, whether they are your friends, your family, your significant other, it doesn't matter. The more time you are willing to put into those relationships, the better those relationships are going to be. It's a fact. And it's almost to a fault. You should never put yourself first in those scenarios. You want to be there for these people to the best of your ability. You shouldn't expect anything in return. And the more you do that, generally, I say generally because there's always going to be exceptions when it comes to some people, right? Your relationship will be better overall. And that's super important, that you put the time into it and continue to water it so that it grows, right? This can be applied to just about every single thing that you do. And it's important that we as humans continue to have the perception that we are trying to build our lives into a better state. Because being able to consistently learn, being able to consistently create are super important in our evolution as a being. It's how we get better at things in life. It's how we keep life interesting, and it's how we move forward. It's when you stop creating and you stop learning, and you stop doing the things that get you into a state of expansion that you start to close off. You get a little upset or maybe a little bit depressed or whatever it may be. It's going to weigh on you and you'll feel it. I'm sure some of you have probably felt it, where you just feel like things are going nowhere and you're stuck in a routine. Usually that means you need to do something. Yes, that might mean you need to get off the couch and go outside, start with going for a walk, start reading, start writing a little bit. I find writing extremely therapeutic, especially when I got a lot of things on my head. But I digress. The whole purpose of this video, guys, is I want you guys to understand the power of compounding. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things in life and how we grow and we improve and how we stack skills, finance skills, learning the proper things that grow our minds so we're more expansive, we're more open-minded. We want to get our perspective to go in that direction, how we learn to catch ourselves when we're living in a state of excuses and we know we shouldn't be, right? It's so easy to fall into those traps because our bodies and our, I say our body because I believe that's like our ego, the front of our mind. Our bodies like to be in a certain state. They get comfortable and they like the hormones and the endorphins and the things that they feel when you're in that normal state. But when you start to break out of that and go into a different state, it gets uncomfortable. And our bodies don't like being uncomfortable because then we're not safe. And our bodies like to be safe. That's our survival instinct that likes to kick in when it comes to that stuff. So it's important that we bring that into awareness when we do the things that we do, that our bodies are going to try to keep us as is. All right. So there's a lot here that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about skills in sales. We're going to talk about skills in marketing. We're going to talk about skills, especially in finance and ourself. There's a lot of things I enjoy. And I think the message here is just going to be a consistent trend of, if you truly desire the ability to have and be more, you need to be willing to put in the work and learn about your investing and your money and your skills and your health and the proper things, and compound them over and over and over again to get to where you want to be. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video.